Well, we're just hours away now from the release of the budget. Tomorrow we'll know how the federal government plans to spend its purse, including your tax dollars, and how those decisions will affect you. Tonight we have a few details about what you can expect to hear from Jim Flaherty, and for that we go to Ottawa and our national affairs editor, Chris Hall. So Chris, what have we learned?
A number of insights tonight, Peter, but the most important one is that the spending cuts, rumored to be in the 10% range, are actually going to be less severe than first thought. More about $4 to $5 billion. Not inconsequential, but less than the $8 billion that have been forecast. And in large part, they don't want to create job losses with this budget. They want to be about building jobs and creating prosperity. So that's the theory behind tonight, that there will only be $4 to $5 billion as opposed to the $8 billion in cuts expected.
All right. Thanks, Chris, but hold on for a moment. Don't go anywhere. We want to bring in Greg Weston, who's learned about changes to pensions coming in the budget. Greg.
Peter, in this budget, austerity begins at home. We've learned public servants will pay more for their pensions, and MPs will share the pain. In keeping with tradition, Jim Flaherty bought new shoes for his budget speech. A tight fit for a tight budget. A budget that even puts the boots to the finance minister's own pension.
It's a time of some reductions, modest reductions. So there are obviously some consequences to that.
CBC News has learned Flaherty's budget will take some of the shine off what critics called MP's gold-plated pensions. Take former Bloc Québécois leader Gilles Duceppe. He now enjoys a parliamentary pension of over $140,000 a year for life. All that may change for those not yet in their golden years. The budget will make sitting MPs pay more and wait longer to collect less in their retirement. Here's what we know. MPs can now collect their pension at age 55. That will increase to 60 or 65. Right now, for every dollar MPs put into their pension fund, taxpayers kick in about $5. In future, the politicians will pay a bigger share, taxpayers a lot less. Finally, most MPs will simply get smaller pensions. Bill Robson points out MPs' pensions are paid entirely from current revenues.
The MP pensions exemplify what's wrong with the federal government's pensions generally. They are very generous and they're very badly underfunded. In the case of the MP pensions, there's no money backing those promises at all.
The budget is also set to slash MPs' office spending by $13.5 million. That includes cuts to everything from telephones to travel. All of that won't make much of a dent in the federal deficit, but going after public service pensions certainly will. CBC News has learned the budget will make public servants pay an increasingly larger share of the government pension plan. Already, the largest public service union says it feels betrayed.
The finance minister has told the national president in public forums, actually, that there would be no increased funding equation for our members. And what this essentially represents is a cut in pay to our members.
Cabinet sources say they are expecting a fight from the public service unions, but they're willing to gamble that public opinion will be on the government's side. After all, those pension changes alone will save taxpayers over $700 million. Peter?
All right, Greg, thanks very much. Greg Weston on Parliament Hill by the Centennial Flame tonight. Well, let's bring Chris Hall back into the picture now. What's the big picture message here tomorrow?
Well, a couple of themes. I think, Peter, the first obviously is that MPs and cabinet ministers will feel some of the pain that's being spread across the government. But I think the bigger one is that this first majority government budget is about prosperity and not austerity. And that's why they're looking at things that they can do to grow the economy. We'll look for examples of the environmental review process for big energy projects being streamlined. One hearing under a strict timetable instead of multiple hearings. Increasing expediting people who are looking to get into this country, skilled immigrants who are needed in those industries such as energy. These are things that the government has wanted to talk about. It doesn't want its own rules and regulations to get in the way of that economic growth. And look, obviously, for the opposition parties to say this is about doing things for the rich, for industry, and not enough to try and help middle-class Canadians. We heard a bit of that from the new NDP leader, Thomas Mulcair, today.
All right. Chris, thanks very much. Chris Hall in Ottawa tonight.